Okay, welcome back. So let's move on to the next portion of it. So before going on to the break, we have already started our OS installation, right? So we have already seen this particular step, monitor the Ubuntu server OS installation plus update process. So this is already been taken care by us. Let's move on to the next step. So next step is after the installation is complete, it will ask us for to reboot the system. So once process states installation complete, click reboot now at the bottom of the screen. So if I'm coming back to my main screen, you can see over here the installation is complete, and there is an option called reboot now. So we can select that one and hit enter. So it will reboot. Okay. Now it will ask us to hit enter one more time just to make sure that our installation CD-ROM has been removed. So I will hit enter one more time. Now it will reboot. Okay. By the time it is rebooting, let's move on to the next step. So this step we have already done. Hit enter one more time and let the Ubuntu server OS reboots first time after the OS installation. So this is already completed. Let's move on to the next step. So next step is we need to log in with the Linux admin account, of course, for the first time. So here I'm just typing Linux admin. This is the user what we have created during our OS installation, if you remember, right? And now the password. And this is the first logon screen and all. It will give you a generic information and all. So now we have logged in with Linux admin account. You can see over here the login prompt, Linux admin at Ubuntu proxy. This is our server name, and then dollar is a login prompt. Okay, so let's move on to the next step. Now next step is we need to change our sudo password also. Sudo means the admin password, so that in the upcoming steps we are actually running some commands which are requiring sudo access, that means admin access. So we need to reset our sudo password also. For that we need to enter a simple command sudo password and set a new password. Okay, so I'm coming back here and just entering the password, sudo passwd, enter. Sudo password for Linux admin. First it will ask the current password, and then the new password. So we are just making sure that our password is reset with the new one, so that in the upcoming commands we will give the correct password. Okay, so the password updated. Okay, so now let's move on to the next step. So next step is we need to enter one command, that is IP space -br and then space A for checking the network adapters informative state. Now as I have already stated you that we have added two network adapters, right? One is for our internal and one is for our external. Okay, so let's see what is the current state of that. So I'm just entering the command IP space -br space A, and you can see over here this is a local host adapter where, by default the OS adapter, so ignore that one. These are the two real physical adapters or the real virtual adapters. So ENS33 is our for internal and ENS34 is for external. Now just try to observe it carefully. ENS33's link status is currently showing down because we have not configured any static IP as such for internal connectivity. Okay. Next one is external connectivity. It is up because it has already got the IP from our ISP DHCP router. That is our internet IP. Okay, although it is a DHCP internal IP, but it is having an internet connectivity. So don't get confused over here. So that's why it is showing up over here. Okay, now we need to make both the links up. That means we don't have to change anything over here, but here we need to change some configuration. We need to give the IP for this ENS33 and then it will be up also. Okay, so I've stated this explanation in the note that kindly note that ENS33, that is our internal network adapter link, is down since we have not configured our internal network connectivity yet. But ENS34, that is external link status, is showing up as it's connected to internet directly through our bridge adapter. Okay, and that bridge adapter is of course connected to our physical adapter. Okay, I hope I'm clear up to this point. So let's move on to the next step. So next step is we need to type the following command to list down the current network configuration file in Ubuntu server. Okay, so we need to first identify that which particular file is holding our network configuration. Okay, so we need to list down. So the command is ls-l then space etc net plan. Okay, so we need to be careful to enter this command, otherwise it will give us error invalid command and all. So let's move on to our main screen and I will say ls. I'm sorry for my speed because I'm not that much familiar with the Linux commands and all, but I will try my best. L L etc net plan. Okay, let's go back and verify whether it is a correct one. Okay, lsl etc/etc/net plan. Okay, so this looks correct. Let's see. Now you can see over here the output is like there are total 4 files inside that, but our usable file is this one, 50-cloud-init.yml. Okay, the first time I have seen this particular file and seen what is this file and why I need to this thing, but you need to be make sure that you are editing the correct file. So this is the correct file. We need to edit it further in the upcoming step because this is the main file which is holding our network configuration. So as I said, unlike Windows, you cannot directly give an IP and just right click and just put the IP and all these things. This is Linux distribution. We need to edit some files and all. Okay, so this is our main file which we need to edit. Remember this particular name. Okay, let's go back to our PPT. So again, note down the command output as 50-cloud-init.yml as our primary net plan config file. So that we have already seen. Now next is we need to again enter one command over here to edit the current network configuration file in Ubuntu Server OS. So what will be that command? Sudo then nano and etc netplan 50 cloud -init yml. Now let me explain this command to you guys. Sudo is our admin mode, nano is our editor, and then the file path. Okay, so using the nano editor we will be actually editing our this particular 50 cloud init yml network configuration file. Okay, I hope I'm clear. Okay, so let's go back to our main screen. Now I will just do a trick over here just to make sure that I am seeing this command also and I am seeing this main screen also. Okay, so let's type it this out. Now one great advantage over here, once you putting the initial and just press tab, it will auto complete with the file which is inside that, but that file should exist, right? So I have already put in a tab over here and now hit enter. And now let me just expand this view. And you can see over here that this particular file is only having one entry, ANS34, that is our external connectivity, and DHCP is true. It is not having even an entry for our internal network because we have not configured it yet. Okay, so we need to add some of the lines in this particular file, and again we have to absolutely make sure that we are putting up the correct spaces and all, so it will take some time. So what I'm doing is I'm just going back to my PPT and showing you guys what I'm actually doing. So review the current 50 cloud INET YMI network configuration file. So this we have already seen. Only those 3-4 entries are there. Only ANS34 entry is there. ANS33 entry is not there, right? So let's move on to the next step. Now we need to edit, update and save current 50 cloud INIT YML network configuration file as follows. We need to add all those lines. So you can see over here what lines I need to add is render network D, then Ethernet S, then ANS34 is already there, so that's fine. I need to add ANS33, then DHCP is false because we are giving this internal network connectivity as a static IP. Okay, so DHCP 4 is false, then the static IP will be, our internal static IP will be 10.1.1.151, and then our subnet will be 24. Gateway will be 10.1.100, then name servers, our DNS server will be 10.1.1.100, and specific internet DNS 8888. Okay, so these many changes I need to enter into current config file. It will take some time, 10 to 15 minutes. So what I'm doing is I'm just pausing this video as of now at this state. Once this file is ready with the new changes, I will come back to you with the next step. All right, welcome back. So I have finished editing my and updating my net plan file. So you can see over here, as per our PPT instructions, we have added some extra lines over here. So I will just explain you guys one more time what we have added. I have added the one extra line, renderer network D, and then this Ethernet's ANS34 DSCP true was already there. Then I have added these lines in the bottom, ANS33, that is our internal network card ID that I have added. Then DHCP4 is false because we are giving the static IP over here. Then what will be our static IP? 10.1.151/24, that is our subnet mask, and then gateway will be 10.1.100, and then our DNS will be 10.1.100, and or generic Google DNS or internet DNS. Okay, so these many changes now I have made. I have not saved this particular file as of now. Okay, so let's move on to our next step. We need to save this before going to the next step, the current network configuration file. Okay, so how can we save this? I'm coming back here and I will just make it as a full screen just to make you guys more understandable. And now you can see over here at the bottom of this particular screen there are various options. Okay, so our control X option, exit option, will automatically ask us to save our file. So what I'm doing is I'm just pressing control X, and now you can see save modified file buffer. So I will press on Y over here, and then it will ask to overwrite our existing file name to write. So it will take the existing file name only, so I don't have to change anything. I will just hit enter and our file is saved. Now I will clear this one and let's verify whether our new file is saved or not. Okay, so again I am coming back to the normal mode. Okay, and now we will again edit it and let's see whether it is showing the correct changes or not. Yes, so now the new changes have been applied to our net plan. Okay, we have edited and we have saved this file, right? So I will come out of it now. Now since we have not done anything, it will directly come out. Now let's move on to our next step. So this step we have already completed, right? So next step, now since we have done some changes to our net plan file, we need to apply that configuration. So we need to add one more command, sudo netplan apply, to apply the new network configuration. Okay, so I will come back here. I will say sudo, sorry, it will ask just a minute. I think I have done something wrong in the command. So there is no hyphen in between. Okay, so it's just sudo netplan apply, right? Enter. Now you can see this configuration has been applied. Okay, although some of the commands are depreciated, but it's still working, so that's fine. Let's move on to the next step. So next step is again we have to verify that our internal network connectivity is up or not, as I stated earlier. Okay, so again I am just entering the previous command. First of all, let me just clear the screen. And now you can see both the links are up. Okay, ANS33 also and ANS34 also, right? And opposite to ANS33, that is our internal, it is showing the correct IP 10.1.151 and external is 192.168.1.34. As I said, this is our external internet connectivity, this is our internal VM connectivity, right? Now this IP 10.1.151 we will be using as a internet proxy gateway IP in our Windows 11 CL once our NAT has been configured in this particular Ubuntu OS. So we have to enter some of more commands now to now configure this Ubuntu server OS as our NAT proxy. Okay, so let's move on to the next step. So next step is now we have done enough typing and all. So we need to enable our SSH so that we can just copy paste those commands easily from our Windows system to our SSH window, right? So we need to enable the SSH access for our Ubuntu server. So for that we need to enter one command. That command is sudo systemctl enable SSH. Okay. So I'm coming back here, entering this command. Okay, so it has done some changes and I think our SSH should be enabled. Okay, now let's move on to our next step. So now coming back to our Windows 2022 DC system, we need to test the connectivity between our Ubuntu server 10.11.151 so that we can take the SSH session further, right? So I'm coming back to my DC system and I'm just pinging what is our Ubuntu server's IP 151, right? And you can see it is pinging. That means our Ubuntu server is accessible from our other Windows virtual machine, Windows 2022 DC. Okay, let's move on to the next step. Now since it is accessible, we will take the SSH session now for our Ubuntu server, okay, through putty. So I will close this first. I will open the putty session and now 10.1.1.151, right? Enter, accept, and put our Linux admin account and password. And you can see we are now able to take the SSH session, right? So SSH is also enabled for our Ubuntu server. Now it is easier for us to just copy and paste the commands, okay? But if you are a really Linux let's say expert engineer, it should not be that much difficult for you guys and like me to enter the commands directly from the DC UI console also, right? But for my uh, convenient, I'm just opening this SSH session for copying pasting those commands just to save time. Okay, so let's come back here. Let's move on to the next step. So this step we have already completed for the SSH session. We have also logged in using our Linux admin. Okay, now next is we need to check whether our firewall status is active or inactive for the Ubuntu server, because if your firewall is active for Ubuntu server, it will create some problems for port openings and all for network connectivities. By default it is inactive, but we just need to reconfirm. So we need to uh, enter one command, sudo ufw status. Okay, so you can see over here our firewall status is inactive, so that's fine. We required inactive only. If it is active, then we can change that particular status from active to inactive by another command, but that is not required as of now. So let's move on to the next step. So next step is we need to now check the status one more time with the same command, IPBRA. Now we have seen it couple of times before, then why we are requiring again, that I will just explain you. So first I will just enter this command, just increase this particular sessions width so that we can see the whole output correctly. Now you can see both the links are up, both the links are showing the correct IPs also, right? But after this IP it is showing our IP6 matrix also, this FE80 and all these things, and this all those 2400, this is IP6, matrix, that means IP6, IP version 6 IP address. Okay, now we need to remove this IP version 6 IP address. Why? Because during this lab setup, when I was preparing this PPT, it was again and again falling back to the default IP version 6 routing mode. We don't require that. We require only IP4 mode, routing mode, so that the internet connectivity and routing will flow from IP4 only. So IP6 completely out of picture. But even if you are removing it on first or second level, it will keep falling. After the reboot, it will again enable that IP version 6. So we need to remove this IP version 6 now from GRUB level. That is means from kernel level, you can say. Okay, so IP6 will be completely removed. Remember, this is for this lab setup purpose. If you are absolutely sure what you are doing, then only go for this step. If you are more expert than me for Linux distributions, then you can find a way how to disable this IP version 6 even after the reboot, apart from GRUB level removal option. Okay, so I hope I am clear. Okay, so in a production you need to be absolutely sure, since this is a very critical stage or critical change what we are doing. We are completely removing IP version 6 from OS level only. Okay, I hope I'm clear with this particular point. Okay, so let's move on to the next step. So as I said, kindly note down that the both NICs, for both NICs, IP version 6 metric is still active, which we need to disable permanently, right? So let's move on to the next step. So next step is we need to enter the command sudo nano etc default grub to edit the default kernel level grub file, and we need to make one change over here. We need to change this particular line, grub cmd line linux, and there are two upper high these things upper quotes, but in between those upper quotes nothing is there. So we need to change from this to this. Okay, we need to add one line, IP version 6 dot disable is equal to 1. I hope I'm clear. Okay, we need to change this line, this highlighted one. Okay, this is the original line and this will be our new line. Okay, so that it will remove this IP version 6 from the next boot onwards from the grub level. Okay, so first we will go for this editing of our grub file. What I'm doing is, now since we are having an SSH session, we can directly copy paste those commands, right? So I'm coming back here. Now I'm just copying this command. Copy this and paste it over here. Remove any space and just hit enter. You can see this nano editor has opened our grub configuration file, right? After this line, see over here. Now what we need to change? We need to change this line. See it carefully. Grub cmd line linux. So here I'm just coming down and selecting that particular portion. Now I need to add one line over here. This particular line. Okay, only this much because this is already there. So copy this. As I said, it's a difficult one for the beginners, but we need to learn all those things. So now you can see my change. I have added this line in between. Okay, IP version 6 disable. Now I need to save it with Control X. It will ask yes for confirmation and enter for overwriting. That's it. Okay, now one more time we will see whether our changes have been saved or not. So same command, and you can see over here this line has been changed. Okay, IP version 6 disable 1. I hope I am clear up to this point. Okay, I will come back. I will come out of it now. Okay, now let's go back to our PPT. So we have made these changes. So look for the line grub cmd line, so that we have seen Linux, and change it to grub cmd line Linux, and then this particular change IP version 6 disable 1. So that we have already done, right? And we have saved it also. Control plus X, then Y for confirmation, and enter for overwriting the file. Okay, I hope I'm clear up to this point. Let's move on to the next step. Now since we have done some changes at the grub level, we need to update our grub file. So there is a simple command sudo update -grub. Okay, so let's do that. Let's see. You can see it has updated with our latest changes. Okay, let's move on. So next is, since we have done the changes at the grub level, we need to reboot our server once. I will simply type reboot over here. Now let's see whether it is rebooting from our SSH session. If it is not, then we will go to our direct session. Okay, you can see call to reboot failed, interactive authentication required, so that's fine. So what I'm doing is I'm just exiting this SSH session, going back to direct console. Here our session is active, that's why it was not allowing us to reboot from there. I will clear this and I will reboot from here. It will reboot from here directly. Okay, so I have made a note over here for this reboot also. You can see over here, if reboot call is failing through your putty SSH session, try calling it from DCUI session. Okay, so that's exactly what we have done. Okay, so it is rebooted. Now let's move on to the next step.